On the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show, Year 10 is truly historic as 3 teams are headed to bowls. Florida International breaks through as conference co-champs. They're headed to Detroit. Middle Tennessee reaches postseason for the 3rd time in 5 years. The Blue Raiders are Mobile bound. And Troy succeeds in the drive for 5. They'll represent the Sun Belt in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. It's all up next on the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show. Hello, I'm Ro Brown, and welcome to the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show. It was indeed a happy 10th birthday for the Sun Belt Conference, a tangible sign of its continued growth. For the first time, 3 Sun Belt teams are headed to bowl games. Here's the schedule. On Saturday, September 18th, the conference co-champs, the Troy Trojans, will face the Bobcats of Ohio University in the 10th R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, kickoff set for 8 p.m. Central. It's the first bowl game for Florida International. The Golden Panthers shared the conference crown with Troy, and they'll meet Toledo in the Little Caesars Bowl in Detroit the day after Christmas. And on January 6th, Middle Tennessee makes it 2 consecutive years of bowling with a bid to the GoDaddy.com Bowl in Mobile. They'll meet Mid-American Conference champ Miami of Ohio. Interesting because that's 3 head-to-head matchups between the Sun Belt Conference and the Mid-American Conference. So it's happy 10th birthday to the Sun Belt Conference. On 4 previous occasions, the conference had 2 teams earn bowl bids in a single season. But year 10 meant 3 teams bowling. Quite an accomplishment for a conference making its mark on the college football scene. In its first year of existence, the Sun Belt Conference had 1 bowl team. North Texas played in the inaugural New Orleans Bowl, despite a losing record for the season. 10 years later, when Commissioner Wright Waters looks at 3 Sun Belt teams bowl eligible and traveling, he thinks about incredible exposure for the conference and member institutions.
Caught for the touchdown.
December the 7th or 6th or 7th until January the 11th. The names of those 3 schools will be in every major paper every day as we list the bowl games.
This is the first bowl invite for Florida International. It will be a learning experience for the program, a welcome learning experience.
12 years ago, Florida International had a dream of having football, but there was not a football on campus. So this is an example of moving ahead quickly.
At Middle Tennessee, it's 2 straight bowl invitations. Waters says the Blue Raiders' success is a case of cooperation at all levels.
A great testimony to the relationship of university president, athletic director, and head football coach, of understanding where things are. This time last year, Rick Stockstill had the opportunity to leave and said, no, I'm committed to this university, and I think we're all very appreciative that he's still here.
Troy has been good for a long time and successful at a number of levels. 3 years ago, they won 8 games, but did not get a bowl invitation.
Had several high-profile wins early, non-conference wins, and has also had a lot of high-profile disappointments. Hopefully they come to the table saying, hey, let's learn from the lessons of the past and let's put them behind us and let's have a good showing this year.
So the Sun Belt Conference has a lot to be proud of this bowl season. The table is set, but there is still unfinished business.
Now if we're 0-3, January the 7th, then it's not a good thing. And I think that's the challenge for all of us to remember, is that bowls are a lot more fun when you're winning.
The postseason future of the Sun Belt Conference looks bright. The conference has extended its partnership with the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl by 4 years. And this is the first of a 4-year tie with the GoDaddy.com Bowl. Up next on the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show, a look at the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl matchup. And he is the Dean of Sun Belt Conference coaches. He has his team in postseason again. Welcome back. This is also the 10th anniversary of the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, the first and primary bowl tie for the Sun Belt Conference. The usual Conference USA representative is replaced by Ohio University of the Mid-American Conference. And perhaps it's fitting that the Sun Belt rep will be the Troy Trojans, making their third trip to the Crescent City Holiday Classic. The Trojan Nation is headed back to the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl for the third time in 5 years. This year's version of the Sun Belt Conference champs yielded a few more points than Troy teams of the past. But the line of successful quarterbacks continues with the conference's freshman of the year, Corey Robinson.
You know, he learned from his mistakes, I think, as he grew as a quarterback. And, you know, those are the kind of guys you want around. And he really has a really prolific arm, and he can throw the football, hit what he's looking at for the most part. And if he takes care of it, and you know we get a little running game going, you know, then we got some good medicine.
Three-time All-Sun Belt performer Jarrell Jernigan closes his collegiate career as the all-time conference leader in receiving. He'll present problems for the Bobcats of Ohio, 8-4 on the season, but a team that can be stout on defense.
They're a smart bunch of people, and they play hard, and they run the football well, and they got some guys that can make you hurt if you don't play sound and solid defense, and they're good in the kicking game, play awfully well and awfully hard. So, you know, again, great respect for the program, understand that we'll have to play our best to win.
A New Orleans brass band was on hand to welcome Ohio University of the Mid-American Conference. Needless to say, the Cats are excited about this bowl trip. Frank Solich, former head coach at Nebraska, has taken the Bobcats bowling 3 out of 6 years on the job. Ohio is in search of the school's first bowl win.
We've done some things that haven't been done at Ohio before, and what's never been done there is, in the history of the school, is to have won a bowl game. In fact, prior to our staff getting there, they'd only played in 1 bowl game. So, you know, we need to take that step.
The Bobcats use 2 quarterbacks. Boo Jackson is the passer with a tendency to turn it over. 15 TDs, 16 interceptions, while Phil Bates is more the running signal caller. Coach Solich knows his club is in for a real fight.
We need to slow them down. We need to try to establish just an all-around offensive game plan for us in terms of doing some running and some throwing, and then special teams. We need to come up big in special teams, and which in some games we have. So hopefully we can put it all together.
Now, Troy has won outright or shared the Sun Belt Conference crown for 5 straight seasons. And although he won't take any credit, one of the major reasons why is a guy who's been the coach for 20 seasons and one of the winningest active coaches in the FBS, Larry Blakeney. These days, 20 years at one school is virtually unheard of. But that's the case with Larry Blakeney. 160 victories places him 10th among active FBS coaches. He's accomplished this for a number of reasons, including a basic philosophy.
It's based on the student athlete being number 1, period, with respect to his teammates. And if he never violates that circle, which sometimes they do, you know, if he never violates that circle, he's probably going to be all right with me.
He was a player under legendary Auburn coach Shug Jordan, coached at his alma mater under Pat Dye. He knew early he wanted to be a coach, getting his start at age 23.
So I'm just glad I got to coach as a head coach in high school when I was young, because I wasn't far from their age and I really understood them. So I think I learned a lot about that age group, because I went through some things with some young guys, and still very close to a lot of those kids in the high school days, the 7 years I coached in high school.
Of course, you don't win at the collegiate level without talent. At Troy, Blakeney has had his share. Like all Sun Belt defensive end, Jonathan Massaquoi.
Sometimes you have leaders and great conquerors that don't have to say nothing. It's more about their presence and their actions and how they go about things. He's one of those individuals that when you're around, he expects greatness, so you want to be able to produce greatness. You want to be able to be on your P's and Q's, dot your I's, and cross your T's.
Larry Blakeney says he's witnessed lots of ego in the coaching profession, and that's something he decided he could do without.
Over the years, and consciously, I hoped that I could do it without being one of those guys, and with treating all people the way they wanted to be treated. That's sort of been my moniker, I think, is to try to be open and available to people.
Coach Blakeney says credit should go to an administration that wants a successful football program and throw in good, stable coaching staffs for the Trojans' long-term success. When we return, Florida International heads north for the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl against the Rockets of Toledo. And they'll go into battle with the conference's Player of the Year. Back with more after the break. Thanks for joining us on the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show. What a year for the Florida International Panthers. This was year 4 at the helm for head coach Mario Cristobal. It was time to see results, and they came in the form of a Sun Belt Conference co-championship and a trip to the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl in Detroit. FIU finished 6-6 on the year, significant when you look back at the last 3 seasons, 1-11, 5-7, 9-3. Mario Cristobal's crew showed significant improvement on the defensive side of the ball. They were near the top in defensive categories in the Sun Belt. But it was fitting that the winning points against Arkansas State, the game that clinched at least a share of the conference crown and made the Panthers bowl eligible for the first time, were produced by one of the best all-purpose players in the country, T.Y. Hilton.
Carroll going deep for Hilton, and it's caught for the touchdown. T.Y. Hilton with his first.
He does it all. Florida International's T.Y. Hilton had a coming out party in 2008 as a freshman, being named Freshman All-American, displaying unusual ability and versatility.
I feel that is a God-given gift that I have to be able to return kicks and play receiver, and I think the ability that I have is something special.
Perhaps kickoff returns are his specialty. He currently leads the Sun Belt in that category, averaging 28 yards a return. The Miami, Florida native says it takes a special mindset to return kickoffs and punts, serving as momentum for his teammates.
I'm just trying to get that spark that our team needs to carry them on. Like, say we down or we up and the game's close and I know it's 4th down, they got to punt me the ball, and I'm kind of like trying to find something that could spark us to win this game.
All the way back for the touchdown.
The 2009 season was injury-plagued for Hilton. He still managed 57 receptions, 632 yards, 5 scores. This year, he's better because he is healthy. As a marked man by opposing defenses, T.Y. Hilton is more serious about weight training and conditioning.
When you're dynamic, you become a target. And if you're a target that's not very big, although you may be elusive, when you get bottled up, 4 or 5 defensive guys are going to race to try to put something on you as well. And he has learned that. He has learned that the strength and conditioning program is not just to look nice to go to the beach. The strength and conditioning program is to make you a more durable football player, to make you a guy that now has body armor.
Coach Cristobal pulls no punches when he says T.Y. Hilton is the most important recruit in the history of Golden Panther football. A high-quality talent from the Sunshine State, automatically bound for Miami, Florida, or Florida State. His arrival makes a statement.
He's made FIU cool, you know what I mean? It's cool now to come to FIU. It's cool to be the first guy to come on over and be the next great linebacker, or the first great linebacker, I should say, the first great quarterback and offensive lineman. So, on top of that, he's a great young man, you know, great family, and a guy that he makes us different.
T.Y. Hilton wasn't the only member of the FIU program to garner accolades this season. Coach Mario Cristobal was named Sun Belt Conference Coach of the Year. Now, Florida International will face the Rockets of Toledo in the Little Caesars Bowl. They're coached by Tim Beckman in his second season at Toledo, who followed up a 5-7 initial year with an 8-4 mark. Toledo has a dynamic talent like T.Y. Hilton. He's sophomore Eric Page, 94 receptions, 8 touchdowns. He also made the Walter Camp All-American first team as a kick returner. 25 returns, an average of 31 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The leading rusher is Adonis Thomas with 937 yards and 6 scores. On defense, they're led by second-team All-Conference linebacker Archie Donald. 134 total tackles, 3 interceptions. Toledo was 7-1 in conference play this season, finishing second in the MAC to Western Illinois. Now, the last time Toledo went to a bowl was 2005, the GMAC Bowl, led by quarterback Bruce Gradkowski, now with the Oakland Raiders. When we return, we'll take a look at the GoDaddy.com Bowl in Mobile. For the second year in a row, the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee are bowl bound. Welcome back. A fast closing kick at the end of the season by Rick Stockstill's Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders got them into postseason play for the second consecutive year. 3 straight conference wins, including a win over Florida International that denied the Panthers an outright Sun Belt Conference crown, sent Middle to the GoDaddy.com Bowl in Mobile against MAC champion Miami of Ohio. The season did not start smoothly for Middle Tennessee. Preseason Conference Player of the Year and the star of last year's New Orleans Bowl, quarterback Dwight Dasher, was ruled ineligible prior to the season. He returned in time for the 5th game of the year, a 42-13 beating at the hands of Troy. They were 3-6, but victories over Western Kentucky, Florida Atlantic, and Florida International made them bowl eligible.
There's many times this season when they could have given up, but they didn't do it, and they kept fighting, and you know, it's a testament to their character and the resiliency, you know, of this football team. And especially these last 3 weeks when our back was against the wall, you know, we came out swinging and got the job done. And I'm just happy that Blue Raider fans and our players and everybody can experience another bowl, because these are hard to go to.
Last season, Middle won 10 games, number 10 coming in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, one of the first bowl games of the season. This year, it's 34 days between the end of the season and the GoDaddy.com Bowl.
Last year was more like an open day. You play a game, you know, you take a few days off, you practice, and get ready to go down to New Orleans. So this year we've got a little bit more time. You know, we'll make sure we do our get caught up recruiting wise, and then we'll get enough work in. We'll be ready when we get to Mobile.
The Blue Raiders will face the champions of the Mid-American Conference, Miami of Ohio, a 17-point underdog to Northern Illinois in the conference title game. The Red Hawks pulled off the upset in the final minute. Miami is 8-4 on the year.
They're a very good team. I watched a little bit of it. It looks like they've, you know, obviously they're well coached. You know, they got good players. Look like they got some good receivers. Their quarterback, you know, they lost one in there with a spleen injury, and you know, got a young guy in there now. But I think they were saying that their starter would probably be back for the bowl game. So haven't really started watching them yet, studying them. But you know, if they're the conference champion, they got to be pretty good.
Now, in 2006, Middle Tennessee went to the Motor City Bowl in Detroit, and for the second straight year, the Blue Raiders can boast of a conference Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive lineman Jamari Lattimore earned that honor this season. we'd like to salute some Sun Belt Conference stars who will not be on display in bowl games but are deserving of accolades. How about a tip of the hat to Western Kentucky running back Bobby Rainey? With 157 yards rushing against Troy, Rainey passed Michigan's Denard Robinson for the lead in rushing yards with 1,649. The man from Griffin, Georgia averaged 137 yards a game this season. Lance Dunbar turned in another outstanding season for the Mean Green of North Texas. Dunbar had over 1,300 yards as a sophomore. This year, he did even better, rolling for 1,553 yards. Lance also led the conference in scoring and touchdowns. Like Rainey, he'll be back next year. And honors continue to roll in for Louisiana Lafayette tight end Ladarius Green. Green was named second team CBSSports.com All-American. The All-SBC player was one of 8 finalists for the John Mackey Award, given to the nation's top tight end. He'll also be back next year for the Cajuns. He's just a junior. One more look at the Sun Belt Mid-American Conference Challenge, if you will. It'll be Troy against Ohio University in the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl on Saturday, December 18th. On the 26th of December, Florida International makes its first bowl trip ever, facing Toledo in the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl in Detroit. And on January 6th, Middle Tennessee against Mid-American Conference champion Miami of Ohio in the GoDaddy.com Bowl. So thanks for joining us on the Sun Belt Conference Bowl Preview Show. Enjoy the postseason. I'm Ro Brown.